Yeah, I understand. I just wanted to do something.
How you ladies doing?
I just
Good. How you doing?
Speaker series November 18th.
Buttons kind of next to each other.
Where's our speaker?
Sizes on them, it still kind of gets a free flow form.
Larry Mitchell.
Having your icons.
Interesting to see.
It doesn't seem to work.
The overall concept.
Okay.
I just need some.
Yeah, you kind of need the emphasize, you know, whatever creative picture you get in your head.
Install. No, it's easier to install it. But I think the other ones are.
Get the, best reviewing bathroom that I've ever seen. It's awesome. I mean, some of the stuff they need to I have to dribble just to get deeper in it. But it'll be very much framework for me.
Tim, do you want your awful interview to watch?
It was a waste of time.
All right, thank you all for showing up today to the IT Professional Speaker Series hosted and sponsored by the Next Generation IT Club. My name is Michael McGinn. I am the acting president and outreach officer for the club this year. And I'm happy to be here. And we're going to learn all kinds of neat stuff about our speaker today and what he can help us learn or how to prepare for work in the IT field. A little bit about the club. We've been in existence since 2009. We started as a club called WAPTUG, which stands for the Web Applications Programming Technology Users Group. And then another club started about the same time called AtomicTug, which was focused on hardware and building servers. And we decided to merge those two clubs together into a unified organization. And then we came up with a new name, the Next Generation IT Club, to focus on all things related to information technology, to help students have a place that they can experiment with what they're learning in class in a non-stressful situation. Just kind of have fun with it. And so we try and get together on a weekly basis on Wednesdays from 1 to 3 over in CC2 13-4. And then how we do the club is if anyone has an idea for a project, they can submit a proposal, a couple of pages of why they think the project's good and so forth. Like we're currently working on a gaming project to collaborate with the University of Washington Center for Serious Play. And Stacy is our project manager for that project. She can tell you more about that at some point. Come to a meeting or talk to her here. And the other project that we're working on is a robotics design and programming project where we use Lego Mindstorms NXT 2.0 robots to experiment with building the robots and programming them to make them do interesting things. And we have one kit available, and I have my own personal kit that I bring to the meeting, so we have 2 robot kits available that you can come and experiment with and build robots. with, we hope to have some kind of a competition or tech fair or something, tech quarter, with some of the projects that we built. Hopefully we'll be able to acquire 3 or 4 more kits so we can have some teams do some competition with each other. Maybe solving a maze or playing soccer or something with the robots. And with that, I'll turn it over to our, I'm sorry, what was your name? Larry Mitchell. Larry.
Tanya.
And
Tanya.
Tanya.
That's okay. That's okay.
Introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Michael. That's okay. For those of you who don't know me, this is my first quarter here at Cascadia, so that's okay. My name is Tanya Strain. I teach in the DIT department, and today our speaker is Larry Mitchell. He works at Physio Control in Redmond. He's been there almost 20 years. He's going to talk a little bit about changes in the workplace. He started at the bottom, worked his way up, didn't really have much of a college background for the last 5 years or so. So give us some good ideas with that and how to change. So help me welcome Larry Mitchell.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to say afternoon because we'll probably be in the afternoon when we're done. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming today, and more importantly, I want to thank you for inviting me to kind of share a little bit about my experience with respect to change. Before I get started, though, I just want to kind of get a sense of the audience and in terms of like what maybe programs you're in and that sort of thing. So, just to show hands, who's having an IT focus in their degree programs? Okay, so IT focus. Is that in development or is that okay, mostly in development? Okay. What other academic pursuits do we have? Do we have IT? Are there any others? Okay, we're all IT here? Okay, very good. So I want to just make sure I have good context. Looks like we have a variety of ages here, so that's good. That's good. So I see that we probably have a number of adult learners, so that's very good. So I want to touch on that. So a little bit about myself. I have my bio, which is right here. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at it. It's right here. I'm going to speak to it. Essentially, what I want to talk about is surviving change, whether you're in an IT environment or any other business environment. How do you get from being able to exercise your passion consistently throughout your career? Okay. Right now, just at the company I work at, which is called Physio Control, there's an announcement in the Seattle Times that we have been purchased by another company, okay? By a management company, a financial management company. We're going through a divestiture. We used to be part of Medtronic, which we're currently part of, and we're going through a divestment. That represents a lot of change. In my years of working there, this is the 4th time that I've seen this. Okay, and I would say that probably of the people that there was 100 people that I worked with when I was at the job when I started. Of those, there's probably only about 15 left, and that's because of the retention and turnover and stuff. So you might ask yourself, how does one survive in that sort of environment? Okay. So I would like to start off by introducing a couple of concepts. Everyone knows, people know what leadership is, correct? When you think of leadership, what things come to mind? I'll just write them up here on the board.
Communication.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Communication.
Communication.
Power.
Power.
Management.
I'm sorry.
Management.
Actually, we're gonna do a contrast and comparison. So I'm gonna put management over here, or just management. Okay. So just think of the different concepts. When you think of leadership, what do you think of? Yes.
Be able to develop the vision for the company.
So is that leadership or is that management?
Leadership.
So vision. What else?
Direction, which is kind of leadership.
Okay. Direction. Okay. What else?
Mediation and mitigation, which
Okay.
I would think is in leadership.
Okay.
As far as,
Boy, I'm hoping that we're all going to be leaders in the world here. That's the kind of we feel here. Okay. So what mitigation and mediation, is that what you?
yeah, I personally put vision under management.
Vision under management?
That's my perspective.
Okay, that's fine.
Risk taker, maybe under leadership.
Risk? Okay. Take risk. I'm sorry? Okay, in charge. Again, think of characteristics. There's okay. Integrity. Okay, we got quite a few there.
Critical path and management.
This is getting smaller. Okay, so we'll just draw a line here. I'm sorry, critical path?
Underneath management, critical path, and
Oh, critical path.
financial focus.
Okay, can I just call that fiscal management? Okay. Is there any others? Yeah, go ahead.
Under management, would be able to track and allocate human resources and plant physical resources.
Okay, so can we just call that resource management? Sure. Is that fine? Okay. That encompasses a lot of things.
Would that also encapsulate subcontractors and in-house
Okay.
contractors?
We'll call that, how about subcontractors, we'll call it vendor management. Is that okay?
Yes.
I think in the management also you need to be able to both lead and follow because you're leading a group but you also have to take direction.
Okay. All right, I think we're gonna stop right there. And if some more come up, we can certainly add them. And you might ask yourself, well, why do we introduce the subject of leadership versus management? One of the things that I found in my own personal story, all right, is throughout your career, there's going to be that component of leadership, and there's going to be a component of management, even within yourself. Okay, I got a couple of things here that I want to highlight with respect to leadership and management, and some of them are up here. Okay, the difference between a manager and a leader is that a manager administers activity, whereas a leader is an innovator. Okay? Another difference is a manager typically copies behavior, whereas a leader develops original thought and behavior. I have photocopies of this and I can pass it out there when we're done here. So. Another thing is that managers maintain, leaders develop. Managers tend to focus on systems and structures. Leaders create those systems and structures. You see a kind of theme going on here? Managers exercise control. Leaders develop trust. Managers are looking right here. They're the tactical view. Leaders look beyond that. They're the strategic. Managers look at the bottom line. Leaders look at the horizon. Okay? The point that I'm trying to make here is that in a changing economy, in a changing profession, in a changing environment, the characteristics that are going to allow you to prevail are the characteristics that are captured here. This is just going to get you day to day. This is going to get you to your direction goal. In my own personal life, you know, I graduated high school in the early '80s. Started off in college. I wanted to be an electrical engineer. Got into college. 2 years into it, I was young and I was enjoying my life as a college student. wasn't able to finish because I come from a family that didn't have a lot of means or money to help me get through school, so I ended up trying to do it myself. And then all of a sudden, you know, what I was trying to do in terms of getting my degree, I needed more money to get my degree, and then, okay, well, I need to work more. Well, if I work more, well, I might be able to miss that class. And I began to get out of balance. Ultimately, what happened is I had to withdraw from school. 2 years into my degree program, so I'm kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it was really difficult to get a job. I did get one good job though, and that was at Motorola. And for those who know about operations and Lean Sigma and Six Sigma and that sort of thing, I was on the cutting edge of that as a quality analyst. Then we went through a major layoff. And the cut point, this was in, I don't know, early, in the latter part of the 80s. What happened after that is I got laid off, and I said, you know what? Here it is, I graduated. Number 3 in my class of 500 in high school. Here it is that I went to school, got in on scholarship, but I still couldn't make quite the ends meet with financially, so I left school. Here I am with working at a good company and get cut because of the economy during that period of time. I got to say that was pretty frustrating. All that happened within the span of about 3 or 4 years. Subsequently to that, I went and joined the military. I said, you know what, I've had enough of this. You know, I'll let someone else take care of me for a while until they can get their act together, and then I'll step back into it. So I joined the military for 4 years. And it was in the military that I learned a skill, much like you're learning skills here today, that I wanted to make myself marketable when I got out. My skill in this case was electronics. So I served my 4 years. It brought me, I'm from Florida, and it brought me out to the Northwest, and that was back in 1989. And I've been here ever since. Okay, I love this place. I don't know where folks are from, but this is a beautiful city. So I get this job at Physio Control. I'm just looking to make ends meet. Right now I'm married, I have a child. And it began, at that point I started to think, you know, it's not all about just necessarily good fiscal management or just good resource management. I need to focus on communications. I need to exercise my influence effectively. I need to have a sense of direction and vision. It was only then when I mentally turned that corner in my head, where it became not an assignment in class, but an assignment in life, that things started to go better for me. But even through then, even having turned that corner, you know, my marriage, it didn't work out. I ended up raising my son on my own for 18 years. And I had no degree, no nothing. What makes the difference is the investment that you make in yourself. No one's going to have your best interest in mind better than yourself. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and I know you all heard that. So no one's got to keep that in mind. No one's going to have your best interest in mind except yourself. Rely on yourself. So, having shared all of that, and of course I worked my way up through the company and stuff like that, and I'm in a successful arena right now. How do I get from point A to point B on that? How do you get from point A to point B on that? How do we get there? There's a number of things that you can do. And this is in a professional arena, whether you're working in IT, whether you're working in journalism, whether you're working in film, whether you're working advertising, business, it doesn't really matter. It's universal. First thing is to be proactive. Okay. Where are you on your curve? Where are you?
What does that mean?
This is your curve in your career. Are you here, just learning? Are you here, continue to grow and learn? Are you at the top of your career, or are you at some level of decline? I can tell you in my 20 years, depending on when you ask me, I was at different points on that curve. And where you are on that curve should dictate what actions you should take. Right here, you're just eating up knowledge right now. That's what we're all in class here for. We're eating up knowledge. Right here, you're growing. Right here, you're at the top. But this is a precarious place. Okay? And when you're in decline, you got to recognize you're in decline. Like I opened with, is my company's gone through 4 different ownership changes. I saw my company here, or like at the very least, here and in a focus of change. You have to manage your own careers the same way. So again, ask the question up top. How many of you familiar with the concept of competitive advantage? Okay. What is competitive advantage?
Well, competitive advantage, there's a couple different components. You have your money component to it, and you have your skill component to it. So, for instance, if you're in a company that makes a certain product, you want to make sure your wages are at a point and your skills at a point where you're not necessarily leading, but you want to be right up there to where you're not spending more money than the other guy to get to the same point. See if I can make that a little bit more clear. I worked with a concrete production company that made concrete products, and we could have spent a lot of money on materials, we could have spent a lot of money on equipment, could have spent a lot of money on getting the best and brightest people in the business, but that's not competitive when you get to that point because you're spending too much money to get there, and the industry doesn't support it. So where you want to be is you want to be about 75–80% there, where you have the nice blend of all those components, where you're still staying ahead of the curve to some degree, but you're not falling too far behind.
That's a very good example. Certainly in the business world, good fiscal management, good portfolio of skills and products are things you need to ensure good competitive advantage. So very good point on that. Any other thoughts on competitive advantage? Okay. Another definition, or an additional context of definition of competitive advantage is what do I bring to the table that differentiates myself or my company from the competitor. You see all this stuff about stuff being sent overseas or outsourcing, things like that. Even IT. I pick up the phone now, and when I have an IT question, the person answering the question could be on the other side of the world. Why do companies do that? Because they're trying to leverage competitive advantage, right? That place that's 10,000 miles away provides a competitive opportunity for them to be ahead of their competitors. So they outsource that event or that activity there. Now where I'm going with this is not so much in the business context, but in adapting to change in the work environment, whether it's at work, at home, in your relationships, however that might look, you have to have or provide some level of competitive advantage in yourself. What are you marketing in yourself that presents to your employer, to your clients, to your peers, that is a competitive advantage, that makes them say, you know what, I'm going to seek that person out. Because that's when you're working from this domain. If you're not seeking out that's when you're working from this domain, is when you are establishing that competitive advantage. I can tell you right now, in my career, I do not do anything of what I used to do 15 years ago when I started at my company. I can tell you right now that if someone would have told me 15 years ago that I was be doing what I'm doing now, I would say that's so far from what I think is going to happen. Okay? It's a constant process of developing the competitive advantage. It's a constant process of reinventing yourself. What are you doing to get yourself on this side of the curve to where you have something to offer? What value are you bringing to the organization? What value are you bringing to yourself? That's what is going to get you through the lean times. When I started out, I was just a technician, just with meters and all this other stuff. Right now, I'm an operations manager, working with Lean Sigma principles. I'm a database administrator. I'm a DBA, both in my job, as well as the Puget Sound Project Management Institute chapter. Okay, I have my hands in IT stuff. I'm in business intelligence, knowledge management. I did all of that because I knew doing those things would provide me with a competitive advantage. And it was where my interest was. So as you go through your studies, absolutely you need to do these things. You need to manage your time. You need to manage your money. You need to make, like I said, time. You need to be able to lead, and I think it was mentioned about the ability to lead and follow direction. That's the tactical stuff. So consider developing competitive advantage. The other thing that you got to do when you're in an organization is don't burn bridges. I don't know how many times I've gone around and, you know, at one point when I was early in my career and the low man on the totem pole, right? I had folks above me that, or even my peer group, that were maybe 10, 15 years my senior. I was a young kid on the block. And they would explain to me about how to do things and what they saw, and oh, Larry, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, we've been doing this for 15 years. You've just only been here for 15 weeks. Within 5 years, I was managing those people. It would have made that very difficult if I had burned some bridges. But I knew I needed to develop some sort of competitive advantage for myself. And at some point, I was leading those folks. So you don't want to burn bridges. You never know when you might have to try to cross that bridge again, or when that bridge presents itself. That's very important. The other thing is seeking to learn. I honestly believe in continuous learning. Continuous learning is so important. You can't, it's not like cooking, you know, where you cook the meal, you prep it, you put it on the table, and oh, I'm done with that, on to the next. You have to continuously be reinventing and improving yourself. Always do that, because if you're not doing it, I guarantee you, your competition is. Whether it's the guy in the next office or the company down the street. So that's very important, is to continue to learn. The other area you want to consider is that good communication skills. I think that's what that was the number one thing that was here. We're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Guess what? You should be listening twice as much as you're talking. Okay? There's a reason for that. So effective communication is so critical. And I think with that, I'm going to get into the next piece. Well, let me just ask, are any thoughts on kind of what I'm sharing here? Is any of it kind of, what are you guys thinking? Okay. I know this isn't IT, okay, but certainly it's, and I can certainly talk about IT. But what I'm trying to impart to you is just being successful in whatever you decide you want to do. It's universal. So, let's get back into the workplace. You have managers, you have your peers, and you have maybe your direct reports, people that do work for you. Right? I hate using the word subordinates, and I can't think of another term because I think subordinates I don't like the connotation of it, so forgive me for that.
Assistant.
Team members, followers, I think we had earlier.
Support?
Okay, let's put support, let's put followers. But those are the folks that work at a hate using below. I'm sorry. I get this. It's an illustration. And then what about those that are above? What are we talking about? Management, maybe? I think that would be-
Or higher management, if you're in management already.
Anyone else? Pretty much management. All right. In terms of success in your careers, which of these do you think are the most important for a successful career? Which one of those elements do you feel are going to be most important to keep that?
They're gonna keep good moving. They're the ones that are gonna be on the ground doing the stuff that needs to be done. They're the ones that have the technical expertise to get the big picture accomplished.
So
The sports
keeping these
involved, yeah.
keeping these folks happy is number one. Okay. Anyone else shares that thought? Oh, is there a question or
I
a
was
comment?
thinking
Go ahead.
management.
Yeah,
You said-
I do management.
You say management? So we've got. Well, let's just do a
I'd say
show of
they're all
hands.
equally important.
How many? Let's just do a show of hands. How many folks feel this management? 2? 3? 3? How many folks feel this supporters or followers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, how many folks do we have in the class? How many folks are not sure? Okay.
I think they're all equally
Yeah.
important.
They're all equally important. Okay. So I'm going to just say, Pierce, let's just go ahead real quick. How many think it's the Pierce? 2, 3, 4. 4. And we have 13 people here. Okay, so the rest. So I'm going to tell you that, not right. That's not right. I'm going to tell you this isn't. Okay? And I'll explain why. The answer is here. The answer is here. And the reason why it's not here is because when we think about what these people know about us, here's you in the middle. Right? Here's your supporters and followers here. We were to draw a Venn diagram. This is you. This is them. If we were to draw management up here, it's the same sort of Venn diagram effect. All right? But when we talk about peers, they're all inside of this with you. Who is it that's going to know you the best? It's your peers. Your manager, they just, hey, you know what? Are you taking care of that critical thing? Are you managing your resources? How's that budget looking this month? Are you getting the work you need out of your team? Are you establishing direction for your team? That's all management's going to know. How many of you work? I mean, have jobs right now? Hopefully most of you. Okay. How many can say that their manager really knows who they are? Does your boss really know who you are?
Yes.
You must be the boss. Okay.
I work in retail in a store, so my manager knows everything.
Okay, but does he know about you?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's great. And I can tell you for a fact that in most cases, structured business, conventional, that's not really true very much. So it's great that you have that relationship. Okay. Nurture that relationship. How many as your support, I mean, how many have people that work under them or work through the direction of them, that sort of thing? How well do they know you?
I tell them what they need to know.
You tell them what they need to know. Right. You know, you're managing. Now, in this classroom, right, I imagine that some of you guys are classmates, right? Is it fair to assume that? If at the very least, you guys are in a common and shared experience right now, okay? Would it be fair to say that you guys kind of know what's going on between yourselves pretty well? Better than the manager? Better than the people that you're directing? It is those individuals that come to your rallying cry in times of change. I want to share another little story. About 6 years ago, I went through this career path like this. And I'll explain why this is so important. All right, so I get out of the Army. This is going to draw a little time up. This is me in college, having fun, waking up late on Sunday mornings, you know. And then here's me in the Army, so this is college. And then here's me in the Army, which I was very proud to serve. And then all of this is my physio control career, my 18 years. And of that 18 years, I spent probably, I don't know, maybe 8 years of it as a, what I call an individual contributor, and then subsequently as a people manager. All right? So I'm going to say individual contributor, people manager, and then there's some things that's going over here, and I'm back to a people manager. Right? I went through a period here where I was, again, an individual contributor. I was so good at what I did as a people manager that I was asked to outsource my department. Larry, you're really good at this. Fiscal management, resource management. Outsource the department. Great. Guess what? I outsourced myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I was so good at it. Okay? So I took a step down out of management and went into the role of individual contributor. But actually, you know, as well as I was doing in this vein here in my career, I didn't really start taking off until right in here. That's probably the last 6 years. All right? And what made the difference was, it was hard for me to swallow that pill of change because I enjoy being people manager. Okay? And then, but got rid of my own job, so I was back here. But I went back to school. I got my master's degree in project management. I think there was a project manager over here. You're on. I heard you were being introduced as a project manager for one of the IT projects. Right. So way back, got my master's degree, that sort of thing, and I teach graduate classes at another university. Right. I'm a project management professional. I'm on the board of directors at PMI for the Puget Sound chapter. That all took place after I went into this transition, right here. But what made it work was not because of what my managers were thinking or what my customers were thinking. It was what my peers were thinking. That's the competitive advantage I established. So I cannot stress enough of how you are no more than a measure of your peers, really. In the work environment, you're no more than a measure of what your peers think of you. Yes?
For a little clarification, how do you define peer? Because when you step from the individual contributor to the project manager and then back down, how gray is that line between that management and that individual contributor? I mean, who do you determine to be your peers?
Okay. So in this vein here, this individual contributor, I'm a project manager on my job. So my peers are the other project managers. Okay? When I need some help with something or they need expertise on something, then I go see them, or vice versa. That's what I mean by the peer group. Just like in this class, you guys are all peers. Yes?
And were you wondering, like, basically if his peer group changed? I mean, when he went from people manager to individual back to people manager? Is that what you're...
I'm always trying to draw a correlation from my own background.
Okay.
Because I come from construction,
Okay.
sites, and there you can be a foreman, you can be a superintendent, and then on the next job you might be just another guy swinging a hammer.
Right.
So that when you talk about burning bridges, that's something we get to understand very well, because when you're pushing a crew, you don't want to really alienate them, because that guy could be your boss.
Exactly.
And so that's why I was asking about if we determine your peer group and find correlations between where I've been and how you are.
Okay. So in that context, right, your peer group would be the people you were working with at that time with those group of people. But in other words, when you were the guy swinging the hammer. It was the other one driving the nail. It was the other one screwing the screw in. That's your peers. But when you were a foreman or a superintendent or a job site foreman, your peers are the other foremen, the management at that point is your peers. Okay? So it depends on what your roles and responsibilities are at the time what determines your peer group. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
So it's fluid, you
It's
move back and
absolutely,
forth.
absolutely it's fluid. It can be fluid even in the workplace. Just in your example. There's cases even on my job where I act as a peer. And I'm working just with my peers. There's times when in the afternoon, I'm acting as the manager. Okay? I have different audiences. But yes, it depends on the environment you're in, circumstances at hand, the conditions, and so forth. The key thing here, and I don't want to get too wrapped up on it, is just understand that it's your peers that are really going to really help you chart your course. Okay? That's the things you want to consider and leveraging. So let's talk a little bit more about relationships. There's a book out there that you might find interesting. I just read it. Like I said, I teach graduate courses, and one of the courses I teach is project communications. And there's a book out there. You might want to write this down. I can write it on the board. If you ever care to read it, it's called Crucial Conversations. Tools for talking. When stakes are high. Okay? And the author on, you can Google it on Amazon. I'm not a co-author or anything of this, so I don't get any royalties on this. But Terry Patterson is the author. And he has a co-author, but you know, if he got that, you should be able to find it. And you might ask, why am I pointing this particular material out? Think about in your lives a time when you were in a crucial conversation. Crucial conversation is anything that it's basically like a fork in the road, right? Depending on how you handle that conversation, there could be many ramifications after that. And I'm going to pull a little excerpt out of that. Let's say you go home tonight and your special significant other is supposed to be cooking dinner and the dinner gets burned. You come home, you're hungry, and dinner's burned. There's a number of ways you can handle that, right? You say, well, great, you know what? We've been wanting to go out to eat the dinner, let's do that. It could have been all planned all along, you know, who knows? By the other party. The other thing is you can get upset and rage or whatever. Or, I mean, there's so many different ways you can handle that, correct? But let me ask you, whether you handle it positive or negative, it's a significant event. You don't come home every day to burn dinner, so it's a significant event. So whether you handle it positive or you handle it negative, is it fair to say that whatever ramifications, that's going to be a lasting creative memory? Would it be fair to say? You're going to remember that a week later, whether you went out to dinner or it ended up dishes with wine. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay? But you're going to remember it. That's what a crucial conversation is. Now, let's look at this a different way. What happens physiologically in our bodies, right, when we're under times of stress?
Your voice gets tight, your heart starts to beat, you start to sweat, tensed up.
What are those other things that happen?
I kind of shut down, like I don't do well,
Okay.
Fight or flight.
Fight or
Yeah.
flight?
Yeah.
The functional side of your brain stops functioning as well, and the instinctive side of your brain starts kicking off a little bit more, so your ability to think stuff through diminishes.
Okay, very good. Yeah.
There's so many challenges at the current moment, it makes it difficult to make the appropriate decision.
Yeah, you just feel bombarded or whatever, or flood of emotions come in. Physiologically, what takes place is whatever your philosophy or ideology is on where we come from, I'm not questioning that, but a lot of things happen. Your heart rate starts to go up. Your blood flow, you start getting adrenaline pumped into your body. Blood tends to pool near your extremities. Energy is starting to be burned off. After Thanksgiving dinner, as an example, our blood tends to pool to where the activity is, right? That's when we get this turkey comatose thing going on, right? Okay, which I'll be happy to have next week. But what happens is the body tends to pull, it gets itself back to its animalistic characteristics of fight or flight. What happens is reason and rationale starts to suffer from that. Because it's not getting the physiological things it needs to make a good decision. It's just reacting. And one of the concepts that are presented in this book is know that takes place. The real irony of it is when you're at the most crucial and critical point, your body robs you of the things you need to make a good decision. So that's just a little tidbit that I just want to share in the material that's in this book. But the whole concept is that managing your crucial conversations are huge. It's the whole never burn a bridge concept, those sort of things. So keep that in mind. The other thing that you want to do throughout your career is have fun.